Morning. Let me know if y'all good to go. We'll get started. Give me the thumbs up, guys. You're ready, you're ready, you're ready. Okay, very good. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Aaron Ford. I'm accompanied with two of my colleagues, and the others I will acknowledge later on. To my left is my Assistant Attorney General, Craig Newby. And to my right is one of our great workers in the Consumer Protection Team, Samantha Feely. I've called you here today to make one of the most exciting announcements I've had the pleasure to make as my time as Attorney General. Honestly, even last night, as I was preparing for this, I told my wife I was very excited about this. It's literally one of the most exciting announcements we get to make because I'm not just an Attorney General. I'm also a father. My wife and I have raised 3 sons and a nephew, and when we were raising our children, we were constantly confronted with accelerating technology and the changing social expectations that are placed on kids who interact with these platforms. We want our children to be digitally literate, yes. But most importantly, we want them to be safe. And for too long, social media platforms have considered child safety an afterthought. And today we're saying enough. That's why I'm pleased to announce today a settlement of our state's 3 separate lawsuits against Meta platforms, Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram. These settlements include both significant monetary restitution to our state and, more importantly, injunctive relief that will ensure that Meta policies protect our children while they use these platforms. And that's frankly the reason why I was smiling when I woke up this morning, knowing that we are protecting our children through these. I initially filed these lawsuits in early of 2024. After an extensive investigation into Meta's deceptive trade practices. These practices resulted in widespread harm to our state's children, including exposure to predators, addiction, attention span reduction, self-harm, eating disorders, impacts to body image satisfaction, and depression. Child predation is one of the most concerning aspects that we have as an agency. In fact, our office sued Messenger specifically and moved for an injunction to stop it from encrypting user-to-user messages to protect our children. In a phrase, we've argued that predation takes place between the encryption. In July, just last month, we actually won an injunction that bars Meta from making false statements or omissions regarding the safety of that very end-to-end encryption. It was clear from whistleblowers and uncovered information that Meta was aware of the dangers that their platforms pose to children. And it didn't take those seriously enough and did not take appropriate action. My office could not stand by and allow these dangers to continue unabated. So we knew that these social media platforms could be dangerous for children because the community had told us. In fact, some of you will recall that I worked to pass the Youth Online Safety Act in 2025. And when I was testifying before the committees in the Assembly and the Senate, a Reno mother sat next to me, and she testified that her daughter had learned how to kill herself on social media. Unfortunately, her child used that information and, in fact, killed herself. For me, these lawsuits have been about protecting kids in Nevada. For this to end satisfactorily, we had to be sure that Meta would make changes that are necessary to ensure that our children are not treated as disposable objects. As part of this breakthrough settlement, Meta is now required to change several of its business practices right here in Nevada, similar to the robust changes that we have successfully achieved in the Roblox settlement, which incidentally was the first of its kind in the nation. Meta may no longer operate with impunity in ways that harm Nevada's children. So let me share with you a few of the changes and the key features that Meta must make. First, Meta must now enact strong age verification practices for all accounts, either through facial age estimation, ID verification, or other means. As users under the age of 13 may not have any Meta accounts, it is crucial that Meta be able to prevent children under the age of 13 from creating accounts, which including additional protections for users between the ages of 13 and 17. Meta must also now take extra steps to identify and to prevent users from circumventing age verification requirements. Meta must also now change its default setting so that parents can actually control how much their teenagers are using these throughout the day. Meta will also now have to limit, by default, teen use to 2 hours per day and place nighttime restrictions between the hours of 12 a.m. and 6 a.m., along with productivity pauses on accounts after 60 minutes and 90 minutes of use. And Meta must also now, by default, turn off all notifications during school hours. This settlement puts parents back in control of the content that their children are exposed to online. Additional default protections for teens include the removal of likes and views from most posts. It includes enacting a chronological feed rather than an algorithmic or personalized feed. And it includes the disabling, importantly, of cosmetic filters. Parents will also be able to adjust these settings for their teens. As most of these default features can only be disabled or modified with parent control, parents will now be able to be more involved and make more informed choices about their teens' online experience and safety. Parents will also be able to receive daily notifications if their teen is talking to adults, or if their teen is repeatedly searching for topics related to things like self-harm and eating disorders. Crucially, Meta must now continue its ongoing efforts in complying with the settlement agreement at its own expense to hire a monitor and be monitored by an independent third party to ensure that Meta's age verification practices are in fact effective. Meta will also be monitored for compliance with the terms of the settlement agreement. These protections stay in place for a minimum of 5 years and up to 10 years. Also, the agreement includes protections that should Meta spin off one of their platforms or create a new platform, they're still bound by the injunctive terms of this settlement. Though these injunctive terms are, in fact, in my estimation, the most important changes that we sought in this action, we can't exclude the fact that in monetary terms, this is the largest national multi-state settlement in the history at $19 billion. The total monetary sum to Nevada could be as much as $255 million, $255 million with a guaranteed amount of $178 million payable over 10 years. This money will be earmarked to go directly to grant programs and services to help keep Nevada youth safe through education, through public awareness, through reduction of screen time, through parental digital literacy, and encouragement in non-digital activities. My office, as you all know, recently announced at the beginning of this month, the Cyber Safety Improvement and Prevention for Youth Grant Program that we established under the Roblox settlement. The Meta settlement monies will go toward grant programs, yes, but there will also be an expansion to the types of services our youth can receive, including mental health services, intervention, treatment, and recovery services. The full amount of the settlement can be achieved by the states obtaining similar relief from other market participants, primarily YouTube and TikTok. And in fact, my office is currently in litigation against both of these companies, and we're not going to stop working on those cases until we can achieve total relief for our youth. In addition, I'm pleased to announce that researchers working with our office have completed another first of its kind piece of work. This time it's a study on the effects of popular social media platforms on teen mental health in Nevada specifically. The study, comprised of more than 600 Nevada middle and high school age kids, shows statistically significant improvements in teens' body image satisfaction just after 2 weeks of reduced social media usage. The results we found here cannot be overstated. After giving up TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat for just 2 weeks, Nevada teens have reported feeling substantially better about their own physical appearance. And we know what these platforms do, and we know what we must continue to do to hold them accountable. We believe that these results will scale with the population. Decreases in mental health impacts by cutting down on social media usage can create a trickle-down effect on the interactions between youth as well. These results are going to be invaluable for us in holding other social media platforms accountable for the harms that they're responsible for imposing on Nevada's youth. Finally, this settlement wraps up an investigation from 2022 into Facebook data sharing and privacy violations, which will result in an additional $6 million for Nevada. Look, I'm proud of the work that we've done in here, and I'm relieved that Nevada's children will finally have the safeguards put in place that frankly should have always been a part and parcel of these platforms. And again, I want to thank those who helped make this possible, including the two to my side. But let me also thank Senior Deputy Rachel Fogel, Deputy Attorney General. I also want to thank Anthony Walsh. And I need to thank my other Assistant Attorney General, Christine Jones-Brady, for helping out, and also the head of my consumer protection team, Mark Kruger, for the work that they did in ensuring that this settlement was possible. I'm going to take a few questions, but I also just quickly wanted to, before I leave, announce that Nevada is also today co-leading a coalition of 25 states in a lawsuit challenging the new USPS rule, United States Postal Service rule, that attempts to give the Postal Service authority to regulate mail voting and imposes burdensome new requirements on states just weeks before the general election. These last-minute changes threaten to disrupt long-standing vote-by-mail systems, and it puts eligible voters at risk of disenfranchisement. The Constitution is clear. States have the primary authority to administer elections, and we will continue to defend that authority and Nevada's access to the ballot. We are, in fact, co-leading the lawsuit, which was filed this morning, and a temporary restraining order will likewise be filed. That's not the purpose of this press conference, but I wanted to mention that because I know it made the news. And so with that, we're happy to answer any questions you may have on the purpose of today's lawsuit press conference.
What's the timeline for Meta to enact these changes as part of that injunction?
Well, it's going to begin virtually immediately. We're going to have these in place for 5 up to 10 years. These settlements are instrumental in us immediately beginning to protect our youth. I don't know if you want to offer anything additional to
that. And also, how was that $255 million determined to go to Nevada? How was that math put together there?
Look, that's a great question. Listen, there may be those who question the efficacy of Democratic and Republican attorneys general convening to meet to address issues that cross our state lines. If you needed any proof of the benefits that inure to Nevada, this is proof positive of it. We have convened Democratic and Republican attorneys general several times over the course of years, discussing these social media platforms. That one of those convenings led to an allocation model that is shared among those who are participating in this multi-state litigation. The allocation model deals with population. It deals with what we call sweat equity. The fact is, we sued, we're one of the first ones to sue these platforms in our own state. Right? And because of our early efforts, we were able to receive more under the multi-state allocation because we stepped in and put some sweat equity into these things. And so there's a lot of conversation that goes into the allocation model. I will give you a tangent just real quickly. Opioids is a prime example. That was another prime example of the efficacy of me meeting with Democratic and Republican attorneys general wherever those meetings took place, because we were able to allocate funds. And sometimes the allocation model doesn't work, such that in opioids, I didn't accept some of the multi-state settlements. I pursued them on my own, and we received multiples of more monies associated with protecting Nevadans. In this instance, we found the allocation discussion fair. And the $255 million is money that will start trickling in almost immediately. And look, I'm really ecstatic about this. Sitting next to a woman who tells me that her daughter hung herself using TikTok. And then when they found her body, TikTok was still scrolling examples of how to tie a knot. Tells me just how dangerous these platforms are. And we have a trial date set in our cases for March of 2028. That's 2 years away. We're going to save lives with this settlement. And this allocation model, the monies that we have will enable us to help the mental health of these youth. We can help pay for counselors in schools right now. With the bullying taking place in schools, they will have a counselor available to them that this money could help fund. And I'm so excited about it. Any other questions?
Well, going back to your lawsuit regarding the elections here, is there a court date set for that?
Well, not just yet. We have today. This morning we filed that new lawsuit. And I want to be clear, the Supreme Court did issue a ruling the other day that I think caused a lot of confusion, making people think that the United States Postal Service's rule, which essentially creates a list of who can vote, had gone into effect. It had not. It just simply said that we sued too early, so to speak. We've sued on time now. The final rule is in effect, and we are going to stop that rule. We filed that lawsuit this morning, and we will be filing a temporary restraining order to keep the United States Postal Service from being able to even start implementing that, and we're confident that we're going to prevail.
I think I would only add that currently there is an injunction in a related case that is also prohibits the federal government from proceeding at this time, notwithstanding what the Supreme Court decided earlier this week. And so as of right now, our elections are scheduled to operate the same way they always have, freely, safely, under the leadership of the Secretary of State and his team. And nothing has changed about that. This new lawsuit is a further effort to ensure that states can run their elections as they always have.
Thanks, Greg. Any final questions? If not, thank you so very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Greg.
Good seeing you. Good to see you too.
Sure.